Even early in the season, we've got a good one in store. Tip-off is a mere minutes away between the Knights of FDU and Syracuse Orange. Welcome back to our Qs.com pregame show. Adam's gone off somewhere. I'm not sure where he's gone. Maybe we'll see him in a minute. But we're lucky to be joined by Maria Wainscott, who is courtside in the JMA Wireless Dome. Maria, I just want to off the bat, 1-2 start for this Syracuse team. Worst start since 2006. What has been their Achilles heel to start the year?
It's been a tough start to the season, as you guys had mentioned.
Really excited and proud to be part of Lily's journey and that she gets to be part of ours as well.
A really super cool story, and thank you so much to Emma Klein and the whole Caveo family for sitting down and speaking to us. And Lily actually signed an official letter of intent, is officially a member of the Syracuse Orange team. Let's go back to the first 45 minutes between them and the Miami Hurricanes. It is a scoreline of 1-0. Let's take a look at those first half highlights. And AJ, Miami came out of the blocks flying, and it seems like they just built on that confidence that they built up over the past few weeks.
Yeah, they got a really impressive result against Pitt. Although the threes are falling today, those layups are crucial as well.
Total of 11 players able to get on the score sheet for Syracuse today. But a big part, we already talked about those turnovers. It was so important. Going into this game, Syracuse was averaging above 21 turnovers per game. Today, just 5. That is going to be important, not just today, but also for the season down the line.
Syracuse forced those turnovers, and they played conservative basketball and didn't turn over the ball themselves. Probably the worst we've seen Syracuse perform this year.
And Kyle McCord is in the top 5 in the FBS in passing yards per game. It may only be 15 minutes into that one, but that doesn't mean you have to turn away from your television set. Stay on ACC Network Extra here for this really good matchup between Miami and Syracuse. The scoreline is only 1-0. And when we come back, we will give you all our insights to the second half, what needs to happen for both Syracuse and Miami. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Moments for Syracuse to win games.
Well, speaking of Georgia Waley and her Australian counterpart, Sophie Burrows, those two have the potential to be those two stars of this Syracuse team. And especially in the early going, Sophie Burrows and Georgia Waley have made a huge impact. Georgia Waley obviously transferred from Buffalo with Coach Jack. She's already made a big step up this season.
Yeah, 17 points in one game, 18 points in another game.
Welcome to Central New York one last time in the regular season. Alongside Sam Reese, I'm Nicholas Waley. And Sam, these two teams aren't just making up the numbers on the final day of the season. Both have things to play for. We mentioned about Pitt, but Syracuse could even drop in the ACC standings tonight.
Absolutely. A whole lot at stake, Nick, even though it's the regular season finale. Pitt could have some work to do to secure that #1 spot, as you mentioned, and then Syracuse trying to solidify the highest seed they can, because if things go wrong tonight, they could slide down those standings.
Well, Syracuse is coming off its worst loss under head coach Ian McIntyre, 6-1 against Clemson last time out. And a big reason why was because they were without their captain due to suspension, Sam Layton. Boy, are they happy he's back in the lineup.
Oh, it's massive to have the grad student back.
Well, thank you, Carson. On Saturday, entering the JMA Wireless Dome, Syracuse was coming off its second defeat of the season at the hands of Pitt, and up against a Virginia Tech team that was coming off 3 straight wins. And after 30 minutes, it felt like Syracuse was going to add another loss to that column. But they were able to fight back, and through an unlikely source. It was Justice Ross Simmons who's got things going in the third quarter. Syracuse were down 28-3 at this point. Off to the races he goes, a 55-yard touchdown. This is someone who didn't even have a reception going into this game on Saturday. Had 4 receptions for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns as well to cut the Hokie lead. Then in overtime, LeQuint Allen Jr. spinning his way to the end zone. He tied the game at the end of regulation to force OT. And then when Virginia Tech had possession again, it was Marlo Wax who forced the fumble, which won the game for Syracuse. Marlo Wax back in the lineup, having been injured for the last month and a half or so. And it's not the only time that Syracuse have been able to make a comeback. We saw what happened against number 25, UNLV, down in that one, and against NC State. They were up in that game, but NC State got the ball to start the second half, went down the field, and Syracuse were able to force the turnover. LeQuint Allen has been so clutch in these late moments as well. Now 2 game-winning rushing touchdowns in overtime. So if there's one thing that you have learned from Professor Waley today, it's to never discount this Syracuse team. Big ACC games, though, coming up for the Orange. First, this weekend against Boston College on the road. Because Clemson lost against Louisville over the weekend, the ACC title game is all of a sudden wide open. That one in Chestnut Hill will be a fun one. Carson, back to you.
Nick, we appreciate your...
For the first time since 2012, FDU and Syracuse will match up in the JMA Wireless Dome tip-off. Is only moments away. Welcome back to the Qs.com pregame show alongside Adam Avon. I'm Nicholas Waley, and we've talked about FDU, we've talked about Syracuse, but it's crossover season. That means there's lots going on, especially on the Hill. So let's take a look at what has been going on in terms of Syracuse sports. And there's been some postseason action just a few hundred miles away in Storrs, Connecticut. Syracuse and Harvard played in field hockey and a big upset.
Yeah, this was going to be a close one. Syracuse field hockey has gone back and forth in a lot of tough games this year, and they've beaten some tough opponents, and they've lost to them. As good as Bo Von Kempen and the rest of the Syracuse field hockey team is, they struggled in that game against Harvard, and they've let up goals early, late in games, which have led to those losses. So you hate to see Coach Farquhar's team go down like this at the end of the year. You would have liked to see, as the best team on campus for quite some time, to continue to push forward. But this team, year in and year out, is always competitive and always gives himself an opportunity to win. As for Syracuse men's basketball, that was a huge one, Nick, yesterday, and just what an exciting game.
I mean, it went even further and longer than I think any of us really expected against Youngstown State. Take a look at what happened between the Orange and the Penguins, and it certainly wasn't what any of us really expected, because it was the Penguins that came out flying, led at halftime, and in the second half, Nico Galletti kept putting on the pressure of Syracuse.
This Penguins team would not go away, and the Orange struggled a little bit in the second half, but this team, if anything, is resilient. J.J. Starling pushes through, was the star all game. What a fantastic performance from this junior guard.
J.J. Starling, career high 38 points in double overtime. Chris Bell was able to get, what a pass that was, from Eddie Lampkin to push the Syracuse lead to 5 still in single overtime. However, Jawan Maxey was able to cut the lead to 2. Youngstown were able to tie it up and then force it to double OT, and that's when Syracuse pulled away.
Syracuse pulled away eventually, but it did take a little bit. There was some sloppy basketball throughout this game, and Syracuse plays down to kind of the level of competition that they go up against. They struggled against Lemoyne, and in this one against Youngstown State, Syracuse is good enough to win these games, and J.J. Starling was there to save the day.
38 points, like I mentioned, for J.J. Starling. Eddie Lampkin had 20.7 assists and 13 rebounds. Good performance as well from Donnie Freeman, 19 for him. 104-95. It looks the league was able to get extended at least a little bit, but it was so close throughout.
Definitely was. The chemistry is there for this team, and as far as we know, this is a second half basketball team. You don't want to see Syracuse be down to Youngstown State coming out of halftime, I should say. But they pull together and they play some really good basketball in the second half, and they have so far this season. If that's something that continues and they end up winning these games, it's perfectly fine how they get the job done.
Well, it was a first half onslaught by Syracuse Football against Cal. Our Riley Underwood is in studio to talk all about it. Riley?
Syracuse traveled out west to beat California 33-25 in an ACC battle. The Golden Bears actually 10-point favorites coming into the game. So let's see how the Orange got it done in Berkeley. Start off in the second quarter. LaQuinn Allen spurts away for a 30-yard rushing touchdown. That makes it 13-0 early for the Orange. Just 2 plays later, though, Javian Thomas, a 75-yard rushing touchdown. That was one of only 3 of his carries for the day. Jaden Knott carried most of the load for the Golden Bears. Then LaQuinn Allen again makes a man miss and dances into the end zone at the goal line to make it 20-7. Then the second quarter gets even better for the Orange. Jackson Meeks, a 6-yard touchdown pass from Kyle McCord, 27-7 Syracuse. But the Golden Bears weren't going away in the second half. Jaden Knott, a 15-yard touchdown run. And then with 1 minute left, Jonathan Brady, a 5-yard touchdown pass from Fernando Mendoza. They convert the 2-point conversion, and then Syracuse recovers the onside kick to finish out the win. So Fran Brown gets to take a shower, and Syracuse improves to 7-3 and 4-3 in the ACC. They return home in the Dome to play Connecticut on Saturday.
Well, thank you, Riley. Thank God. Fran Brown actually gets to take a shower for once, but it doesn't mean the season is over. Still 2 games to go for Syracuse. Riley mentioned UConn coming up next week in the Dome, but then the big one against number 12 Miami to end the year.
Andrew Selliver last week on our pregame show asked me, what do you think the record's going to be? And not to brag, but I did say that they would beat Cal, and I think that's going to be the same case against UConn. But that Miami game is obviously going to be very tough. But as Fran Brown said, winners get washed, and hopefully he's taking some showers going forward throughout the rest of the season.
It certainly will be exciting one the Saturday after Thanksgiving between the Hurricanes. But we've got some women's basketball to get to. FDU against Syracuse. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk with Maria Wainscott after the break.